Now, Labor have spent another day pushing lies about Medicare and about pensions, just making up policies, making up alleged coalition policies in an effort to scare pensioners and the like. It's about as lowbrow as politics can get. And as I said last night, it insults voters. It shows they think voters are fools. But also, with Labor all at sea on border protection, they've brought their border protection spokesperson out of witness protection. Well, not really. Kristina Keneally went on the ABC. She won't talk to me because I understand border protection, I suppose. Here she is trying to explain why Labor will scrap temporary protection visas and rejecting the government's claim that TPVs are actually crucial to the fight against people smuggling.
That is absolute rubbish, and the Morrison government knows it, and they are lying. What they are lying about is this. Nobody's gone on a protection visa, a temporary protection visa, who's attempted to come by boat since the introduction of Operation Sovereign Borders, and that's because they're turned back or sent to Nauru. They are not permitted to come to Australia on a temporary protection or any other visa.
Really? Keneally, who has no experience, zero experience in these matters, actually cites the success of the Coalition's border protection regime as a reason to start dismantling it. This is exactly what Labor did last time. Remember, in 2007, the Coalition had stopped the boats and Labor said they would also turn them back. Then they came into government, scrapped temporary protection visas, did not turn back a single boat and gave us an international humanitarian crisis. Yet right now, Keneally and Albanese are making exactly the same promises. They say they'll turn back boats, even though they've previously opposed that. And they say they'll back offshore processing, even though they've previously opposed that. And they say that they'll scrap temporary protection visas, the first thing they got rid of last time. Now, what Keneally doesn't understand, because she's had no experience, when all this was happening, of course, she was back in state politics with Eddie Obeid and Joe Tripodi and the other New South Wales Labor factional luminaries. So what she doesn't understand is that without temporary protection visas, there is an incredible incentive to get to Australia, a big pull factor to lob on our shores, on the mainland. Because if you do, you're then almost certain to stay in the country permanently. And while our Border Force patrols have done well, they can't always be expected to intercept every boat. And you don't want to provide an added incentive for ever more perilous routes to be taken by people smugglers in order to reach our mainland. No, you need to leave our border protection regime exactly as it is. Labor picked it apart before, back in 2007, 2008, and it cost at least 1,200 lives. Actually created trauma for another 50,000 people pushed through detention, and it cost upwards of $10 billion. Our country has faced this diabolical dilemma for 2 decades now, and Labor still doesn't get it. It's a big worry. And as I said, we've been asking Keneally for an interview, and we've even flagged the 2 main questions for her. They are whether Labor would turn back boats, even though Kevin Rudd said that would risk conflict with Indonesia. And I also wanted to ask her, would Labor let boat arrivals come to the mainland? Well, I guess the answers are that Labor says it would turn back boats, even though it never turned back one when it was office, and it would not let asylum seekers into Australia, except that by axing temporary protection visas, it would actually provide an incentive for them to get here themselves. If Keneally was in charge, we all know what would happen, because tragically, we've seen it all before.